Today I'm so excited because I have some new Dollar Tree Halloween DIYs to share with you. I absolutely love them and I hope that you love them too. Now this year, Halloween's a little bit different. My kids are not going to be trick-or-treating, so I want to bring the party home and make it super special. I hope you love what you see here. If you do, and you haven't hit that subscribe button, I hope that you will. If you are new, welcome. My name is Jennifer, and this is a little bit of Calm and Crazy. Now let's get into it. What would Halloween be without a few pumpkins to go along with it? So here I have some socks, a scarf, and a few pumpkins. I'm starting off with a large pumpkin. I just pulled the stem right out and then went in with my utility knife to cut out a hole on top. My hole is square, but it won't even matter because it's gonna be covered up. So I'm using a Dollar Tree scarf in order to cover up the pumpkin, but of course you could use any fabric that you want. Now I did have to fold it in half, otherwise it would be see-through and you would see the orange. You could always paint the pumpkin if you wanted to as well. So I'm folding the pumpkin and pushing a part of the fabric into the hole and then using some hot glue in order to secure the sides as I go. I go ahead and I pull the fabric up on both sides, and then I need to secure the seams down on both sides. So the way that I do that is I add a little bit of hot glue on one side and push that seam over. I add it on the other side and push that seam over, and then I'm left with this little triangle bit. So I add a little bit of hot glue and fold that down towards the bottom of the pumpkin. I do that to both sides of the pumpkin, and then I go ahead and take the rest of the scarf and stuff it inside of the pumpkin. After that, it is time to go ahead and add my stem. I'm just using one of those little wooden pieces you can get from the Dollar Tree, but you're welcome to go out to your yard and trim a branch if you'd like. A little bit of hot glue, and this pumpkin is done. For the smaller pumpkins, I just pulled out their stems and I painted them black. After that, I went ahead and I grabbed the pumpkin and I just shoved it into the sock, making sure the bottom of the sock was on the bottom of the pumpkin. And then I just snipped off the extra sock that I would not need. I then went ahead and I put the stem, once it was dried, back in the pumpkin, but I did not put it all the way down. I made sure that I had a tiny bit of room, so as I'm going around and I'm hot gluing the sock to the pumpkin, I'm stuffing that little bit of sock right underneath the stem to hide where I'm placing the sock down. I hope that makes sense as I'm going around the pumpkin and just placing and hot gluing that sock down. Once I have that sock hot glued to the pumpkin, I add another little dab of hot glue and press that stem down. And that's how easy these little sock pumpkins are. I did the same thing with the other sock and pumpkin, and voila, 2 quick and easy little pumpkins. Perfect for Halloween. These are the perfect accent to go with my Halloween decor. For this DIY, all you need is some black spray paint and a taller of the skeletons that you can get from Dollar Tree. To start off with, I did go ahead and trim the little part on top of his head that you hang him from, because I do not plan to hang him. But if you were gonna hang him, you would go ahead and leave that on. And then I did take an 220 grit sandpaper and sand any rough spots just to smooth him out. He's from a plastic mold. He has a few rough spots and we just want to soften him up. So of course, where I snipped off that top, I needed to do it. And then there's definitely a little rough spot underneath his chin. I found that on all of these skeletons. And then maybe a few other little straggly plastic bits here and there. After that, I just hit him with some spray paint. I put it on one side, let it dry, flipped it over, sprayed it on the other side. And this is my Halloween version of Elf on the Shelf, except for I'm the one moving him. My kids know that. It's not a mystery. It's just gonna be fun to see where does Mom put Mr. Bones. This is such an easy and fun idea. All you need is the skeleton garland, the little mini cloche, and some black and white spray paint. To start off with, separate one of the skeletons from the garland and then trim off the little hanging part. After that, you want to sand him smooth and pick off any of like the random little plasticky bits, because there are a few of those. Then you're gonna start bending him at his knees and elbows. So just bend him as tight as you can get it. On the elbows, they're a little tighter to bend, and so I did go in with a pair of pliers and gave a nice good squeeze. It's not gonna hurt it, they're not gonna break. At least I didn't find any breakage happening. And I also did go in and bend at the wrist ever so gently and the fingers, just to make them look a little bit more natural and not so stiff. After that, I sprayed the base of the cloche in black. I felt like that was a better Halloween color. And the skeleton himself, I spray painted in white. I spray painted the front of him, let that dry, flipped it over, spray painted the back side of him, and then he was done. Once he dried, I just stuck him right inside that little cloche, and it's kind of like I locked up an old boyfriend. I think it's so funny, it makes me giggle. I was absolutely inspired by a cute little skeleton trio that I saw from Pottery Barn. Some little dapper skeletons, and I knew that I could recreate them or recreate one of them for much, much less. So using my Cricut, I did this cute little skeleton. Now, if you have design space, I'm gonna have a link for you down below so you can do this exact one. If you don't, no worries. Guess what? I have a free printable for you. So you can also print this out and put it straight into a picture frame. Now I'm applying this onto a cabinet door. I found this free on the side of the road. I just took my sander to it. That was it. However, you could also use a Dollar Tree sign. Use whatever you have and you want. It doesn't matter. Let your imagination go wild. This thing can be as small or as big as you like. I did use a wax to seal him and protect him. Now I just gotta decide where I want to put him, on my front porch, my back porch, I don't know, but I think he is adorable. For this project, I'm using Dollar Tree's Wicked sign, and I am so excited to create this project because something wicked this way comes. To start off with, I am filling in all of my holes with some wood fillers. This is the back of the cabinet door, so I'm going to fill in any holes I have here. I didn't do that with the skeleton. I wasn't really worried about it on that side, but I did want to do it on this side. And I'm also going to go ahead and do it on the Wicked sign as well, where originally they were using it to hang the sign. Once the wood filler dries, just give it a nice light sanding. I always use a 220 to do that. So this is the real fun part. I get to play with paint. I'm using Waverly's chalk paint, but use whatever paint you want. So I'm using ink, which is the dark black for the hat. I went in with a combination of Marlowe and Ocean to create this beautiful purple in order to paint Wicked. Then for the moon, I used a combination of the gray elephant and white, but I almost did too much gray to begin with, so I had to kind of backtrack and add a little bit more white and tone down that gray. I'm using nutmeg on the broom part of the broom and the wax and antique on the handle of the broom. I hope you caught all of that. Basically, I just had fun playing in paint. While that was drying, I went ahead and painted the cabinet door. I did a combination of the elephant with just a tiny bit of white in order to lighten it up just ever so slightly. It did take 2 coats in order to give me the coverage that I wanted. Once that dried, I did tape it off and I painted the border and the white. Once everything dried, I did go in with a 220 grit sandpaper and I sanded it. I actually took it outside and I used my electric sander to give me a really good sanding, but you can hand sand it if you want to. I also used the 220 grit sandpaper in order to sand around the edges of Wicked, as well as in between some of the different shapes or whatever you want to call those, just to kind of separate them a little bit more and to bring a little bit more depth and dimension into them. I liked how it softened it up and brought out the natural wood that was underneath. Now you have a few different options here. You can absolutely use your Cricut if you have one. I'm going to have a link down below, and then you can copy me if you have design space. If you don't, I have a free printable for you, but you can also use stickers, rub-ons, or stencils. So many different options in order to recreate this project and make it your own. I went ahead and used the Wicked in order to hold my place as I was placing down my vinyl so that I would know exactly where I wanted my vinyl placed. Once I had all my vinyl placed down, I used some wood glue in order to attach the Wicked. Once that dried, I went in with some DIY wax. I brushed it on and then wiped off the excess. And then this sign is done. I think it is adorable. And again, I don't know, do I want to put it on my porch, on my front porch, my back porch? I absolutely love it. So one thing you should know about me is I love little cheeky quotes, and if a broom fits, fly it is definitely cheeky. So here you have a couple options. If you have design space, I will have a link down below for you. If you don't, again, I have a free printable for you. And you can either print on whatever paper you want to, white paper, it can be a scrapbook paper, kind of like what I did, and you can make this look identical to what I did by just printing, or you can use a Cricut machine. You do whatever works best for you. So I'm starting off using this fall sign from Dollar Tree, but I wanted to use the front of it, so I went ahead and popped off the little banner, but I did need to trim it down so that my paper would fit on the sign. So once I got it trimmed down, I just trimmed a little bit off each end. I did go in with a thin coat of Mod Podge. Thin coat is a key thing if you don't want bubbling. I laid my paper on it. Once the Mod Podge dried, I like to sand off the extra paper to get those nice clean edges. I prefer that over cutting or trimming. It always works best for me. And then it was time to lay my vinyl down. I got my vinyl on there, and this project is done. Super easy, I love it, and it is super cheeky. So here's another one of those just really fun little Halloween signs. Yes, I can drive a stick. So I have this broom. It comes in a 3-pack from Dollar Tree, some scrapbook paper, and another vinyl cutout that I use with my Cricut, but I do have another free printable for you or a link to Design Space. You choose. Anyway, starting off with this picture frame, I'm just opening everything up. I cut down the scrapbook paper to be 8 by 10. I'm starting with the scrapbook paper, then the glass to give the frame some weight, and then putting the backing back inside. I went ahead and took the bow off the broom. It was mushed and it didn't look so good. I will be covering that up in just a moment, but before that, I trimmed down the broom just a little bit on both ends. I'm using some miter shears in order to do that. These cut fantastic. I love these. These are a great tool to have in your kit. I just made sure that the broom would fit on the 8 by 10 and trimmed it down until it fit. After that, I just took a piece of raffia, wrapped it around a few times, tied it off into a knot, and that covered up that area where I took off the bow. I added the vinyl to the top of the sign, and then I used some hot glue in order to attach the broom. And I think that this is just super funny. I absolutely love it. A quick and easy crystal ball is using one of these little round orbs and a candlestick. Now, if you can't find the little black candlesticks, you can get one of the crystal candlesticks and spray paint it black. And all I did was take the sticker off because I didn't want any of the sticker popping through, and just set it right on top. Now, if you want this to last and you don't want it to separate, you can always use some E6000 and it will be permanently attached. As soon as I saw the boo and the eek, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I am so excited to share this project with you. First, I carefully removed the staples from the back of each of the words and then just sanded slightly, ever so gently with some 220 grit sandpaper to make it smooth. After that, I took them outside and gave them a good coating of some black spray paint, but you could also brush paint them if you prefer to. It doesn't really matter. With the round wood pieces, I did go in with the 220 grit sandpaper and try to smooth them out. Their edges are always a little bit rough, and once you paint them, you really notice that, so you do want to take the time to do that. And with these, I decided to go ahead and brush the black on. I am using Waverly's chalk paint and ink, but you could just use your favorite black paint. I'm going more for like a brass or an aged gold look, and so I'm using a makeup sponge in order to apply my next couple layers of paint, and I'm just dabbing it on. So the first paint that I'm applying is antique gold. This is a metallic. It's by Folk Art Plaid. I got it at Hobby Lobby. Nope, I got it at Walmart. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm just dabbing it on all over, except for on the exclamation. I add a little bit and I kind of just rub it in because I really want the exclamation to stand out differently than blend into the word. And I do that on both words. Once this dries, I do the same thing kind of with a pure gold. I go in with a sponge, but then I actually liked using just my finger. You guys, we're going back to kindergarten and it is finger painting time. I actually just kind of dabbed it around with my finger and got the look that I wanted because it was a little softer than using the sponge. I didn't want full coverage. I wanted the black to show through. I wanted the antique to show through. And then I still wanted to see that pure gold. All three colors coming together created that look that I wanted. After everything dried, I just glued the boo and the eek with some wood glue straight down onto those little black discs. And now I have some really cute bookends. Now I have these little boxes that came from Dollar Tree that look like books, but honestly, I think these would look really cute with like the Harry Potter books or something along those lines. These are just super cute. These little white houses make the tiniest, cutest little haunted mansions. All I did was take them outside and give them a good coat of some black spray paint. Once they dried, I got the larger popsicle sticks from Dollar Tree. I cut one of those down just so it was a little bit longer than the taller of the homes. After that, I took a tiny bit of black paint, brushed it on the ends, and then I went in with a little decal that I created in my Cricut. Put that on, use some hot glue to attach it. You could also just use a Sharpie if you wanted to handwrite something, and voila, I got a haunted mansion. I think this is adorable and I love it. I absolutely love this. I think this is such a cute and easy project. All you're gonna do is get a little wooden round disc or wooden something to set your vase on, a little broom, and a 9-inch vase. So I'm taking the bow off my broom because it's smushed and I don't like it. I didn't replace it, but you can do whatever you like. It doesn't matter. After that, I'm cutting my broom down. I tried to do it with a pair of scissors. It didn't work. It's gonna mess up your scissors, but you know, if you wanna try it, I went in with my miter shears. I cut the broom down until it would fit under my vase. Please get the 9-inch vase or you will have a teeny tiny little broom. After that, I removed the sticker. I did have to go in with my heat gun to help me because this sticker did not want to come off. And then I used a little glue gun to get the extra adhesive off. After that, you're gonna take your wood disc. I angled my broom because I want it diagonal. I sat the vase on top of it and voila, this one is done and it is super cute. I love it. If you're looking for some fall or Halloween inspiration, here's a couple more videos for you to check out. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.